Yeah, so as you know, if you haven't been living under a rock, then you know that there is a housing crisis going on, and it's everywhere you look, every media source, every paper you open, and there are a lot of variables that do go into that, and mainly it's going to be inventory, interest rates, and population.
Oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Break It Down with Braydon. I'm super excited. I've got my good friend Chaz DeLong on here. Chaz and I have known each other for 15, 16, 17 years, something like that?
That's right, long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
Chaz actually went to my rival high school, Chaparral. Went to Desert Mountain myself, and we actually were neighbors, but for some reason Chaz decided, I got to go play football over at Chaparral because they had the better football program at the time, so they say.
This is true.
But yeah, been running around with Chaz since middle school and just been good friends forever. And it's been awesome to kind of watch you grow your real estate career over the last several years. How long have you been actually in the real estate business now that we're talking about that?
Coming on year 8
Year
of being
8.
licensed. Yeah.
Awesome. And then I know you've had a great mentor.
That's right.
Who was that?
My mom,
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So she's been in the business over 25 years, and my dad was in new home sales for 20 years, 20 plus years, actually.
Okay.
So it kind of runs in the blood.
Yeah, I
it
didn't
came
know that your dad
natural.
was doing new sales there for a little while.
That's right.
Very
He
cool.
was.
Very
Long
cool.
time.
I learned something every day. Well, Chaz got an amazing family, 2 amazing daughters, Charlotte and Layton, and his amazing wife, Kim.
Yeah.
And it's just been awesome to watch you kind of grow your family and the success and the joy that you guys have kind of had over the last few years. It's been awesome to
Thank
kind
you.
of see.
And congratulations to you, new father. That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to
sir.
the club.
Thank you. It's been cool. Girl dads.
Girl dads.
That's
Yep.
right.
Unite. Right.
Well, let's go ahead and jump right in. So
Cool.
there's a little bit of a housing crisis going on right now.
Absolutely.
What do you kind of see going on in the real estate market? Kind of what's your predictions and stuff going on right now?
Yeah, so as you know, if you haven't been living under a rock, then you know that there is a housing crisis going on, and it's everywhere you look, every media source, every paper you open, and there are a lot of variables that do go into that, and mainly it's going to be inventory, interest rates, and population, but really we focus on what's been happening with the inventory. And a lot of people don't know that this has been a long time coming, this crisis, and that's mainly due to the shortage of inventory, not of what we have now, but what should have been built.
Yep.
So, for instance, prior to 2008, we were keeping up with the population, and in fact, we were overbuilding versus the population. But then once the crash happened, builders had a huge pullback, like 40%, almost half of their building just gone and stopped building. So now this has just been building up, and then something like COVID happens where people just hunker down and stay put.
Yep.
And then you get low interest rates where we got a bunch of buyers who are now qualified and they're all bidding on homes. That's what causes this supply and demand issue we're seeing today.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also saw a chart the other day that kind of showed the difference between the population growth and the amount of homes that we're building. And it's definitely scary where things are right now.
Absolutely.
We definitely need some new home builders to start popping up and
We do.
Developing some subdivisions. That's for sure. We need some houses.
And then in comes cost of lumber shooting through the roof. So what are builders to do, but they're going to have to figure something out. That's for sure.
Absolutely. You mentioned COVID, and there's a lot of other factors why people are coming to Arizona.
Right.
Why do you live in Arizona? Obviously, as one of the weird natives as well, as like myself. But we could live anywhere we want, United States or abroad. But why do you choose Arizona yourself?
Yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere else but Arizona, and I mean that. And it sounds like you're in the same boat as me. But a lot of it's to do with just what's readily available. I mean, as you know, you're a snowboarder. You drive an hour and a half up the mountain and you're snowboarding.
Yep.
Or you go 3 hours south and you're at the beach in Rocky Point, Mexico. Or California's 5 hours away. And the endless hiking and golf, and it's just all the amenities. And then, of course, the beautiful weather. We get 8 to 9 months or so of just great weather, anywhere from 70s to the 80s.
Right. Yeah, if you could survive June, July, and August, the other 9 months are very beneficial for the rest of the year, and it's hard to really beat it.
Yeah.
It really is.
And we're not dealing with all that we're seeing on the news right now, which is tragic. All these, monsoons and earthquakes and endless
and
rain.
In terms of natural disasters, we have the haboobs that roll through every now and then.
That's our biggest scare.
Get a little dust in the house.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's not too bad.
That's it.
So obviously, Arizona native. You've moved around a couple different times. Kind of resided now in McDowell Mountain.
Right.
What's your kind of favorite neighborhoods, or why did you end up in McDowell Mountain yourself?
Sure. Well, of course, McDowell Mountain's got to be up there with
Yep.
the top 2 or 3, but number 1 probably. And that's really because the mountains. And with mountains comes hiking and mountain biking. And it's just a great tight-knit community. There's 3,200 homes there. So it's a good size to where you have community, but it's not, too small either. So we just like it. We just think it's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Very family oriented.
Well, and then they got the golf course there, which is
Of course.
awesome.
Yep.
What else is in there? The ice den is right over there
Ice
for the
den's
hockey
right
rink.
there.
How many miles of trails are in there?
Oh, I don't know. A lot.
It's something ridiculous, right? Like
Hundreds.
I want to say like hundreds of miles.
Hundreds
of
of
trails
miles.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, they just wind through the mountains. They go through the golf courses and everything.
The parks that they have there for the kids.
Water parks, fitness center.
The pickleball. What is there? 12 pickleball courts?
Yeah, well,
Something like that?
You would probably know better. You're more the pickleball guy, but they
Yeah.
did just build it, and that was only 2 years ago, 1 year ago during COVID, I believe, and out pops pickleball.
Yeah. My dad plays in a couple leagues there, and it's crazy to see the facilities and what they've put together there. It's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
It's a very nice place. And then you're a mile and a half from the Waste Management TPC golf course and Westworld, and
Yeah.
it's a great spot. We love it.
What other communities would you recommend outside of there?
I still love McCormick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where you live,
I love McCormick
you
ourselves.
picked a good spot for
Yep.
sure. It's just all the restaurants, all the entertainment. You're still close to Old Town, but you're not in the middle of this raving party.
Yep.
So
Everything's green and lush. And,
absolutely.
kind of the same thing. There's so many miles and miles of walking trails,
Mm-hmm.
all the different parks. I want to say there's like 12 parks in McCormick Ranch.
Mhm.
I don't know how many homes. I know you threw out the stat of the McDowell Mountain houses.
Yeah, a little bit more than McDowell, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot
Tens
for
of thousands,
sure. Yeah, the HOA is kind of a pain, but aside from that, we love the community, and it's been awesome. And I think you mentioned it, like, all the restaurants that we have in Arizona. I don't know if there's a better place in terms of new restaurants that are not necessarily chains. That's what, I feel like every time I go somewhere else, I'm going to Buffalo Wild Wings or like all the same chains that are in all the other major cities. Arizona seems like it's like the hot spot for the new restaurant to give it a try, and then
for sure
they stem off from here almost, it seems like. So it's pretty cool for the restaurants. We love going out to dinner in town, and it just seems like there's plenty of options.
Yeah, for sure.
What are your future predictions for the housing market? What do you think? Where do you think we're going to see in the next 12 months?
Well, I do see appreciation continuing.
Yep.
So kind of unfortunate news for the buyers, listening in here, but it is the truth. I mean, it just naturally with our inventory. So for example, our inventory right now is at 1.2 months supply, whereas 6 months supply is what we want to see for an even market between buyer and seller.
Okay.
So we are way below where we need to be for that buyer's market to kind of sneak back in.
Yep.
However, there is a bright future. I'm seeing it start to soften up a bit, less multiple offers on our homes that we're listing, more days on market happening. So we're slowly returning to that after things are opening up and sellers are seeing what they can get for their home. They're starting to put the homes on the market.
Do you think that's because sellers have been putting up some crazy numbers that they're trying to get, and so buyers are starting to have some realization that, okay, maybe numbers have gotten a little crazy, maybe I need to wait a little bit, and so days on market are trickling up a little bit, and they're going, okay, maybe I can actually put an offer in at the sales price, maybe below a little bit, as opposed to 50,000 over or whatever some crazy number over asking has been for the last 3, 4, 5 months or whatever it's been.
It's funny you say that. I've the last, I want to say 20, I think it was actually 19 when I looked at it. Of the last 19 offers, all of them were at full price and above.
Yep.
And actually 2 days ago, we submitted one that was under list price.
Let's go.
And we got it. And that was a huge
And you
win.
got it?
We got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, they took it. But, you know, it's like you said, it's sellers were riding that wave. Oh, how far can this go? How far can I push that? And I think things are starting to come back to reality.
Yep.
Or buyers are actually calling them out on you know, what their real value should be.
Yeah, I'm starting to see significant price drops now
Yeah.
on listings. It seems like where they're coming down $100,000 or whatever, and they're going, okay, maybe I couldn't just slap any number I wanted on here
Right.
and assume that I'm going to get it. And a lot of the times they were getting it, so I can't really blame them. But
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. So
And even then, even with that price reduction, it's still a record high appreciation.
Exactly.
So it's not
Yeah.
like they're getting hurt in this deal, but it is good for buyers to see that soften up.
Yep. What other things are you coaching your buyers on in order to get deals won in this market?
Well, just being very strategic and intentional is our big thing. And, you know, that's all buyer specific of what they're comfortable with. But we've done strategies like waiving appraisals, but also keeping the loan contingency involved.
Yep.
And that's kind of a little loophole in it. It's like, yes, you're waiving appraisal, but you're not waiving the fact that if this thing appraises 50 grand below, that they can still get the loan and have to close the loan.
Right.
So little things like that. And then just having them soften up on asking for a bunch of things in inspection and all that. It's really a lot to do with foreshadowing and prepping our buyer for the market that we're in. It's not how it used to be where you're sending a laundry list to the seller to repair.
Right.
And we've found success in that. A lot of the clients that come in and aren't prepared, maybe with other agents or other brokers, they're just getting, you know, exhausted.
Yeah.
Like can't win a deal, and then they just end up renting, and that's the worst thing for us because we know that that's not beneficial to their future.
Yeah, that's just going to be a frustrated buyer in the future that's going to
Exactly.
go, okay, I don't know if I want to deal with this again. Let's just renew the lease one
Yeah.
more time, and we'll deal with that later on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's definitely crazy out there right now, and people have to be ready to lose some battles, and
Yep.
obviously being coached up the best way possible, and putting in the most offer that's most conducive for the seller.
Right.
But yeah, what other things? Yeah, I don't have any other topics.
I mean, it really just to back on what we see in the future, and I mean, interest rates will naturally rise.
Yep.
You know, and that could weed out some of the buyers, so there's not as many bidding wars going on. However, as you know, we're number one in growth as far as population coming here. Amazon just announced they're building another facility. I mean,
saw that.
We got to be prepared for a big population coming here.
I also just saw an article this morning that was I forget the name of it, but there's a big industrial company that's coming in here and building like the biggest industrial plant Arizona has ever seen.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how many big businesses are coming in here, the development that's happening in town, and just kind of where Arizona's going as a whole.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see.
And I think we're just kind of that launch pad for testing new things, and that's even in the real estate world too. You see all these iBuyers, OfferPad, all that. We were one of the first markets all these companies were in.
Yep.
And it's just because it's the perfect environment. And I was actually on another podcast talking with a friend of mine, and he brought up the point. He used to work for Open Door,
Yep.
and they had this little buy box or whatever of homes that they would buy. And they would immediately take out the ones that were in cold weather.
Huh.
And I was like, why is that? That doesn't make any sense on the data and whatnot. And he says, well, in Arizona, you don't have to deal with pipes freezing on your vacant listing that you're leaving there in the winter.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that makes sense. So Arizona's kind of like that prime spot just to test all this, and it needs the inventory, so they're not as worried about sitting on a bunch of inventory.
Right. Huh. Very cool.
Yeah.
You bring up iBuyers. How are you kind of coaching your clients to work with those or
Yeah.
adhere to those kind of in the
so
marketplace?
There's a lot of agents that are just like trashing them and dishing on them. Don't do iBuyers. Don't do this.
Right.
We welcome them. We actually,
There's a spot in the market for them.
there is a spot for them. We work with them. Every listing appointment, we actually bring in the options, and
Yep.
that's one of the options. We
Yeah.
say, hey, you could go
Take
with
a
them.
cash deal right now. We don't have
Yeah.
to list it and don't deal with anything.
Yeah, and we do the work for them. We actually come in most times with the offer. If it's in the buy box, we say, this is what you could net with them.
Yep.
This is what you net with us, and so forth. And, you know, we welcome it. The last stat showed that they made up 5% of the real estate deals in the nation. So they got a lot of market share to cover to to really disrupt in a major way.
Yep.
However, it is going to change, and that's anywhere from what we're expecting in commissions, what we're expecting in service, or our level of service needs to be challenged, and that's good.
Yeah.
I think that service needs to be put up, and luckily we've been preparing for this for a long time, and there's a lot of stuff that they're offering that we've been offering for a long time.
Cool. Yeah, I would completely agree. There's a time and a place for them,
Mm-hmm.
and I think also making sure that when you are taking those is leveraging an agent. That way you're not getting taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
And also positioning yourself so that way you do understand that there is a little bit of margin built in there, and they're making their money somehow. So although listing it on MLS or the traditional way might be a little bit more of a pain sometimes, typically you're going to be making a little bit more money, and you just need to understand that and just understand the numbers. And
it's all about education.
Yep, breaking it
fine
down.
print too. Like as real estate agents, we have, the ethical guidelines and the disclosure guidelines to where we have to show our pricing up front, and that may scare people. Whereas these iBuyers, they're really just investors, and they're
Right.
just like, hey, here's my cash offer, but built in this is 6% of repair fees and market risk fees and all that. So it ends up netting the same, and usually their offer isn't full market value anyways. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Well, I think that's pretty much all I got for today. Thank you so much for joining me, Chaz. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of Break It Down with Braydon, and stay tuned for the next episode. See you guys soon.
Thank you.